Yo, what is going on, all you IBA fans? It's your boy AAR1220, bringing you guys my IBA Season 4 Draft Analysis. Now, first things first, I wanna give a massive shout out, a massive fucking shout out to Odds. Not only is Odds commissioner of the league, of course, alongside Nick and I, of course, helping him out this season, but Odds is the head honcho, of course, and he has put in a ton of work to improve this season by a lot. I genuinely had, I'm not gonna lie, I genuinely had some worries going into the season, because we were introducing a Wi-Fi and a Showdown division, and last time we had a second division, it went to shit. But I genuinely think that Odds not only start out this season significantly better, but also if you look at the graphics on screen, the graphics are so beautiful. Odds, of course, I love Odds' work, but Odds has literally improved his work by like tenfold ever since IBA started. So that, of course, leads into my next shout out. My next shout out, of course, goes to the Flying Bird. He's another coach here, and speaking of coaches, you should follow and subscribe to all the coaches. Their links are down below. But I want to give Bird a shout out too. Bird has, of course, helped a lot in terms of just me in general, I guess. Bird has just helped me better as a person. He's put in a lot of effort to make sure that I am, of course, okay. Of course, that I'm putting in as much effort as I can to my content and improving every day. So, of course, you know, I want to give Bird a shout out. Bird shout outs are always due. Bird shouts me out all the time. It's the least I could do. So you guys should, especially if you're not gonna click in the description, and I get if you're not gonna check out 16 different people, believe me, you definitely should. But I get if you won't. But at the very bare minimum, you check out Bird and Odds, because they're significantly amazing people. The graphics, Bird inspired Odds to do a lot with the graphics this season compared to normal. So of course, Bird is also especially to thank. Odds, of course, put in the time to make the graphics, but Bird especially is to thank. So you should check out both of them, of course. Their links along with the rest of the coaches down below. You should check out the IBA Twitter as well, link down below, because the IBA Twitter will be tweeting out things such as when draft streams go up, not draft streams, league game streams go up, because a few coaches such as myself, Bird, and Odds, I'm not sure if anyone else is, but they're going to be streaming their game. We're going to be streaming our games as well as uploading them. I'm uploading post-coms. I don't know about the rest. If you guys want me to upload the stream as well, I can do that as well a couple days later. Just let me know down below, I guess. In terms of other things you should check out down below, I want to link both Leo and Omega as well. I'm going to link both of them down below. Omega helped a lot with this draft plan, actually. He also helped me with a transaction, which I'll get into at the end of the draft, because I didn't bring them on week 1 that I dropped, and week 2, I'm going to have it anyway. And since my week 2 stream will go up before my week 1 game goes up, I might as well announce it here, because I actually am re-recording this draft analysis, because 1, it went to like 40 minutes last time, and I'm hoping this one doesn't. And 2, because of the fact that I ended up actually forgetting to cover this mod, and like right after the draft video ended, I was like, okay, you know, I gotta go work with Omega and figure out this drop if I'm going to pick it up week 2, because it actually kind of has a good matchup versus my week 2 opponent being Poised. But I'll get to that when we get into that. That'll be the last pick I mentioned. So without further ado, let's get into the actual first pick, because I've spent like 3 minutes going over shoutouts and things you should click on and other people you should check out. You should definitely check out all of them, but especially the 4 I mentioned. I feel like our first pick, though, of the draft is something I wanted to build around. This mon being, of course, Zyger 50%. Going into this draft, I knew I wanted Zyger 50%. I was indifferent on a few things. I was indifferent on Omega. There are actually 4 different Megas I was deciding between. I was deciding between Zard Y, mainly because I had wanted Zygarde Zard Y, because I saw how Melon used it, and I think that Melon definitely missed out a couple things in terms of like offensive potential with his draft. He pressured them into a stall roll, which I never agree with. You should never, ever use stall Zard Y. I hate it. I hate that Melon made it work so well. I hate Melon for it. The problem being, I guess, is that I just couldn't think of a way to build around Zard Y well. And another thing I also wanted was Mew. Again, I know, ripping off of Melon's team, those are the only 3 mons I was really considering from Melon's team to draft together. I personally felt like I could have made it work a little bit better. I didn't really want to draft Sun as a team necessarily. I just wanted to have Zard Y as breaker, and Mew as Mew allowed to be in a more offensive role. I canned that plan really easily just because I didn't know how to build around it, at least to my own knowledge, and I didn't even consider working with Omega until like I already had my first 3 picks planned. Another Mega I was planning to build around potentially was Mega Medicham. This starts to get into the plans I worked with Omega. The issue being with my Mega Medicham plan, my fastest mon was Alolan Ninetales on that plan. because I couldn't really fit in any other faster mons on my team. There was just nothing left that really worked well. because things like Zera Aura got picked up really fucking early that I really wanted. There's a couple other mons as well that got picked up really early, which I'll get into in a moment. Another plan that I picked around was potentially Mega Pinsir. It had a similar issue to Roserade. Difference being is, not to Roserade, to the Mega Medicham plan, but I did have a little bit more speed I could fit into that plan. The bigger issue being is that with a Mega Pinsir team, and I had a lot of other Rock Weak mons in that draft plan, and my speed tiers were all over the place. My team had like no removal, which it really needed removal with Mega Pinsir on my team. So that team got canned, and then I'll get into the last Mega when we get into it. But once in terms of my draft plan, another issue with the Mega Pinsir plan, I guess, was I really wanted Mew in that plan, and Mew still was definitely good on the plan that I ended up going with, but I really depended on Mew in that plan just because of the diversity in it. So Mew actually got sniped of us a couple picks before. If I look at the IBA sheet, actually, I'll open up the draft page right now. So Mew got picked 1, 2, 3, 4 picks before us. It was picked up by Grounded Gliscor, and there was 2 picks before, and then my pick. So Mew snipe was extremely unfortunate for me, actually. Mew could have been a really solid defogger for my team. That was literally the dependent component, I feel like, of the Mega Pinsir plan, was because Mew was like the barring I completely used that word wrong. It was the structural defogger on my team, I guess. It allowed me to clear hazards for a lot of my mons that really depended on it in the plan. There wasn't really options I saw left at that point that were viable to pick up Mega Pinsir. So I instead actually changed my course entirely, and I really didn't want to draft the Mega that I went with. It's later on in the plan, but I felt like that when I picked up this round 2 pick, I sort of had to go with that Mega. But my round 2 pick actually was Manaphy. Now Manaphy, like me after I got sniped in Mew, is literally the epitome of depressed.jpg right now. I did not intend to go with this Manaphy sprite at all. In fact, by the way, Zygarde's nickname is actually up for grabs. You guys can pick that in the comments below. Manaphy's nickname is Juvia. And no, this is not a fairy tale reference. It technically is, I guess, because that's what Xiaomi intended it for. But I named that because of Xiaomi naming all of his Manaphy Juvia after a fairy tale reference. I love Xiaomi. He's one of my best friends. We go back like over 2 years ago. In fact, yeah, literally, might even be 3 years ago at this point. I completely forgot, but it's been a few years that I've known Xiaomi for. He's easily one of my best friends, one of the funniest guys I know, one of the best content creators I know, even though, of course, you know, he doesn't have the best mic, he doesn't have the best presentation. He has phenomenal editing, and his videos are still fucking hysterical to watch. I still laugh at my game versus him in FBL to this day. So I wanted to embody him in my IBA draft, and if I couldn't have Mew, I was gonna name Manaphy after a nickname that he uses to heart. Another, in terms of actual synergy with this plan, Manaphy pairs really well with Zygarde. It's able to handle a lot of checks to Zygarde, and Zygarde is able to handle a lot of checks to Manaphy, I feel like. Also, Zygarde can switch on a lot of Manaphy's weaknesses. The two of them together are extremely terrifying for teams to prep for, especially with the team I ended up going for, in terms of just overall weaknesses I cover later on, because really the only thing I guess that this team sort of struggles with right now with just these two would be grass types. But my next pick sort of helps with that as well, along with the Mega that I ended up going with. My next pick actually ends up being Alolan Ninetales, aka round 1 pick. This is my nickname for Alolan Ninetales because Alolan Ninetales is in fact a round 1 pick. Just ask Poppy A-Drive, of course. You know, he's Poppy. I mean, Daddy, Senpai, you know, anything else you want to call him. But he very well describes how Alolan Ninetales is a round 1 pick. And I agree with him. You know, Alolan Ninetales, it's a broken mon. You know, this thing should have been sniped. This thing is a round 1 pick. Obviously, definitely, I'm saying it is definitely a round 1 pick. It's not round 3 or 4 or anything. And it's certainly like a broken mon. Definitely. Certainly. It's not just Veil or anything. But Alolan Ninetales, though, in all seriousness, it's a really solid way around grass types, which this team sort of struggles to break. While I do have Z Manaphy, of course, by the way, Manaphy is one of my Z mons. It's not the most reliable answer if I'm going to be bringing it every week, or like a Rindo Berry every week. It's not really reliable around grass types, because grass types could potentially check me in other ways, or other mons with grass coverage could burn through my Rindo Berry, and then a grass type could just sit on me and just start breaking me. So Alolan Ninetales helps with that grass weakness. Also, Veil makes these two mons fucking obnoxious to play around. Not a lot of teams really have a ton of counterplay to Veil plus Zygarde Manaphy. It just doesn't really exist, and teams are going to over-prep it, and that allows my lower tier mons, or my lower value mons, I guess, to put in a ton of work this team. So yeah, I'm really excited to use my round 1 pick, aka Alolan Ninetales. I should have drafted it round 1 like Bird drafted Gyarados round 1 because this mon is broken, but I see it having a lot of potential this draft. Next up is a mon, unlike drafting it really late and getting extremely value for it, I actually drafted this mon really early. There weren't a ton of mons, to be fair, that I was really valuing at the time, so I felt like it was really worth it to pick this up, and what it offers to my team is immensely valuable. I felt like that for what this thing offers to my draft, I was willing to pick it up round 4. This mon being Bisharp, whose nickname is also up for grabs. Comment down below your suggestions. So Bisharp is a very, very valuable mon on my team. Having Defiant support when my team forces so much defog in terms of between my hazard stacking that I'll get into later on, the fact that I then also have Veil, people are going to be forcing themselves to run defog. It's just completely noticeable already. Bisharp now pressures all those defoggers, and if they want to defog and I switch in Bisharp, and I get a +2 boost to my attack, and I can start sweeping through a lot of teams with that. Dark Steel coverage, extremely valuable. Not a lot of teams really want to switch into Dark Steel coverage. It's just, and Bisharp of course does have other options such as low kick, of course, for potential mons that might want to be like just sitting on me, such as maybe like a Jirachi, for example. Actually, maybe not a Jirachi. Bad example. I was trying to think of a fighting resist that's also steel type. I should be thinking of a dark resist. I don't even know, to be honest, off the top of my head, but point is, I do have other options in terms of coverage. This thing also can hit flying types, such as Talonflame, for example, with like a Stone Edge. So again, this thing just has a lot of options, I feel like. It's also my first rocker on the team. While this isn't going to be a primary rocker, it could potentially fit rocks on my set, to be honest. And then I could force defog versus my Bisharp, and then again, Defiant boost. So that could be very scary for a lot of teams as it is. So overall, though, I do like my Bisharp a lot. I feel like it's going to be a really valuable pick on my team. Next up, the pick I probably should have picked before Bisharp, not going to lie. This mon is Akiza Our Roserade. His name comes from... Actually, Ben nicknamed this thing in our D-League run when we picked it up. I fell in love with Roserade in D-League. I'm really excited to use it again in IBA. This was also the reason that a lot of my other plans failed in terms of speed tiers, because I really needed Roserade in a lot of those plans for a T-Spike community. And while I could have gotten Greninja for T-Spike and regular Spiker, it really felt better on my team, I guess, to have Roserade as a T-Spike community as well. Also fit my speed tiers a lot better in terms of the middle speed tiers. So I felt like that Roserade was just really invaluable in my team. That's sort of why a lot of my plans, such as the Mega Metachan plan, failed, because I just couldn't fit Greninja on it, and Greninja ended up actually going really late. Had Roserade gotten sniped, I would have went with Greninja this pick, and because it went like round 7 or 8. Had Roserade gotten sniped though, I would have went Greninja, and that's another reason I felt safe picking up Bisharp, was because I knew that Roserade and Greninja wouldn't have gotten picked. I felt like it was going to be one or the other, maybe. I didn't expect both of them to get picked, especially with a lot of other teams coming my way. So I felt pretty safe picking up Bisharp and then Roserade. So Roserade, of course, does offer dual spikes. It also offers aromatherapy, which is really nice for my team. So behind Veil, I can get Toxic stalled with Manaphy or Zygarde. Of course, Manaphy does have hydration with Rest, or even just Rain Dance in general to clear Toxics. So Manaphy doesn't necessarily have to worry about it, but Zygarde is a lot more prone to Toxic, I feel like. And that could be very scary if I get Toxic before I get a sub up, or if I even get poisoned before I get a sub up. So having Roserade as a T-Spike immunity is extremely invaluable, as I don't have a defogger yet in my plan. I do have a couple later on, but I don't have one yet in my plan. So I feel like, though, having the T-Spike immunity and Roserade is really solid. This thing also starts to help me form a Fire, Water, Grass core. I already have my Steel Dragon Fairy core covered, and this allows me to go a little bit bulkier for my Fire, Water, Grass core, as my Steel Dragon Fairy core is extremally offensive. My bulkiest mon being Zygarde on that plan, which isn't exactly known for being a wall. Roserade could technically be a special wall, though. Manaphy could be a wall technically, just people never use it as a wall, though it does have value as a wall. I feel like, though, that with Roserade, it just offers a lot to my team that I was missing earlier on, so it's giving me more hazard potential, as even if I don't bring rocks, spikes are actually really valuable in this metagame, and a lot of my opponents really don't have a lot of mons that want to take on spikes. So that's going to be extremely invaluable versus a lot of my opponents, especially my divisional opponents. Spikes are going to be extremely invaluable versus them. So that's really all I got to say about Akiza Our Roserade. Next up, we have Megamind Our Uxie. I ended up picking this thing up actually round 6. I felt like that Uxie offered a lot to my team. It offered me a really reliable Stealth Rocker and a Fat Psychic type. Fat Psychic types are extremely invaluable in my opinion, as you really only have a Dark type, I guess, that wants to switch in on a Psychic move. And if I get this thing set up, especially in Veil, this thing is nasty to take on in Veil. I calculate this thing for my week 1 matchup, and I'll get into that more when it comes to it, but I calculate it versus Adamant, Choice Band, and Bulu, and behind Veil, it was actually like a 4-8 KO after leftovers with Adamant, Choice Band, and Woodhammer. So just to process how disgustingly fat this thing is. And not only that, but it can still fire off pretty solid offensive hits. This thing has fairly decent... Well, it's not the best. I mean, 75 isn't great for offense. This thing still, after like Combine Boost, could actually put in a lot of work offensively versus teams. So it's a very scary mon for 8 points. Has an extremely good speed tier too at 95. It outspeeds a lot of other walls. Even like a Cresselia versus example, I guess Sub versus Cress before it actually toxics me. Force Cress to run a lot of speed if it's actually going to manage to get a toxic off versus me. So overall though, I do like my options with Yuxi. I feel like it's extremely invaluable versus my opponents, especially in my division in my opinion. I feel like my division extremely struggles actually playing against Yuxi. So this mon is going to be really nice. It also gets Heal Bell as well, so that's another cleric option on my team actually. So I don't need to force Roserade all the time to be a cleric. I think a loaded Ninetales even also gets some sort of... I know at the very least it does get Safeguard. I think it might also get some sort of cleric option. Yes, it does get Heal Bell. Okay, so I now have 3 cleric mons. A loaded Ninetales won't necessarily be running it. Neither will Roserade or Yuxi, but I do have the options at the very least if I need to. So 3 maybe clerics at the very least gives me potential to maybe run one more often. Next up are finally our Mega. Or not finally in our draft, but finally we get to our Mega that I was hyping up this whole time. Mega Pidgeot. This is the 4th Mega I considered. I've actually wanted to use Mega Pidgeot for a while, not gonna lie, but I was extremely... It's weird. I really wanted to use Mega Pidgeot, but I kept telling Omega, nah, I don't really want to use this. I want to make a Mega Pinsir plan and the Mega Medicham plan work. Because I really was scared to actually run Mega Pidgeot. I felt like it wouldn't really put in a lot of work. But then I started noticing how I really depending on Mega Pidgeot for its speed tier, and not only that, but my division actually really cannot switch in on Hurricanes. Their teams are all disgustingly built around just getting fucked over by a special offensive flying type. So Mega Pidgeot actually puts in a lot more work against division than Mega Pinsir would have ever dreamed of putting in, because my opponents do have fairly solid physical answers for it, flying types, but not special. So Mega Pidgeot is actually be really solid. Also gives me some more momentum on my team, as my only momentum right now is Yuxi. And Yuxi, as my only momentum mon, isn't exactly great. It definitely is not bad, but it's not great. So having Mega Pidgeot for U-turn potential is actually really solid. This also does give myself recovery, and it's my first mon besides Roserade to do so. At least besides Manaphy with Rest, Rain Dance. But I'm not going to count that because it's 2 moves for recovery, and I don't like counting that. It just doesn't make sense. But it is there at least. So this is my first mon with reliable recovery besides Roserade. So that's also really nice. I feel like Mega Pidgeot also is a really solid special breaker. It's one of my 2 special breakers in this draft. I feel like it just offers so much to my team that was missing earlier on in the draft. And I feel like though, even with its slim move pool still hits a lot really well. And people underestimate how hard a Hurricane plus Heat Wave actually do to a lot of teams. I don't even know if it gets any special normal coverage. But it doesn't really even need special normal coverage. It just hits with Hurricane plus Heat Wave plus Hidden Power and Roost, or even Defog or U-turn or Tailwind. It does have solid options. And I know I'm running down move pool at this point, but people give its move pool a lot of shit. I think it actually puts in a lot of work with my team, and I'm really excited to see how Mega Pidgeot does. This thing I don't actually have a nickname for, so again, that nickname is also up for grabs if you guys want to nickname that in the comments down below. Next up on our team, we do have ourselves actually Semia X, our Blaziken. This thing I felt like was actually a really solid Steel Deterrent, and it's one of my 2 Steel Deterrents so far in this plan, at least on my initial draft plan. Blaziken is our other Z-mod, of course, as well. I felt like a Z Blaziken puts in a ton of potential, so I felt like that Blaziken being a really solid Z-mod with both special and physical coverage, whereas Manaphy is really only special coverage. I feel like that was extremely invaluable in my team. I think that also having Blaziken with base 80 speed tier helps patch a gap between my Roserade and my Bisharp, which is really nice as well. Also has agility set up as well, so I can even just start speed boosting myself without having the speed boost ability. I think people really undervalue how well agility puts in work versus a lot of teams, especially with Blaziken's coverage and Z-move potential. This thing could be a nightmare for a lot of teams to prep for, especially teams who cannot handle things such as a Z Blaziken. Well, I guess Z Blaziken in terms of things like Z Solar Beam, Z Focus Blast that people can't really dodge. People really undervalue the special side of Blaziken, I feel like, and it could potentially put in a lot of work versus a lot of teams. The physical Blaziken is still amazing in a lot of different matchups for me. So I feel like though that Blaziken could just put in a lot of work, especially behind Veil. This thing is actually really fat too under Veil. I've actually run defensive Blaziken in a couple matchups, and I think it's personally a really solid set. People seem to undervalue the defensive potential Blaziken has. This thing could actually defensively check Kartana really well, which, again, people really undervalue how bulky Blaziken can be. At least can be, I guess. Its bulk isn't the greatest, but if you can run defensive Infernape, you can run defensive Blaziken by any means. Next up on our draft, we have an actual potentially defensive mon, being Vikavolt. I know this thing is really meant to be a special breaker, and that's what I drafted for, a special breaker, because besides Mega Pidgey, I don't really have a solid one without setup. But Vikavolt immediately breaks special teams, even with very little investment. For 5 points, it's also really solid slow pivot, in my opinion, and my team could really use that, to be honest, versus a lot of opposing mons. My division also doesn't have a lot of fire types, so having this extra fire weakness isn't really that bad. My opponent's fire types are really shit, so having Vikavolt is going to be really solid. Helps me break psychic types really well, because right now I'm really banking on Bisharp as my only psychic breaker, and my team really can't touch psychic types otherwise, and I do have a couple weaknesses to it. So Vikavolt does fill a lot of roles there. Also gives me some more momentum, as besides like Baton Pass, Blaziken, and U-turn on Mega Pidgeot and Uxie, I don't have a lot of momentum. And Blaziken can't really run Baton Pass in my opinion. It just isn't the best move to fit on it, though it definitely can in some matchups. Mega Pidgeot and Uxie are going to be more of my pivots, and even then Uxie has a lot of 4 movesets in some games as well. So Vikavolt is a really solid pivot that can run Volt Switch a lot of games. So I feel like having that as a slow pivot option is actually really solid for my draft. And I'm really excited to use Vikavolt. I use it in a lot of NPL preseason games, and I was actually really excited with how defensively this thing can be. People underestimate how solid defensive Vikavolt is, but between its typing and the fact that it gets Roost, and of course it's fairly okay bulk. For low tier mon, this thing can check a lot of mons, such as Mega Scizor, it's a really solid check too. Even regular Scizor as well. I remember running it for both of those in NPL preseason. I'm really just excited to see what this thing does, to be honest, and I can't wait to see how it fares against a lot of my opponents. Next up, we got ourselves Palisand. This is our backup ground type. One of the things that Bird mentioned to me was get a solid flying type and get us a solid backup ground type, as this thing is more meant to be our typical ground type in terms of switching on electric hits, being a stealth rocker that's reliable. This thing also gets recovery, which very few ground types actually get reliable recovery. The other one being like Hippowdon, but this thing is at very least a little less passive than Hippowdon is. It also has Shore Up, which is not a weather-dependent recovery move, which a lot of solid recovery moves that people go to these days, besides Roost, are really weather-dependent, such as Synthesis, weather-dependent. There's a couple others that I'm really blanking on right now. Moonlight as well, weather-dependent. So again, Shore Up just really doesn't depend on weather as far as I remember, which is really solid as well for a low-tier ground type to be really having that sort of recovery. Things like Sunfisk, while they're solid low-tier ground options, don't get that recovery, and I feel like it actually hinders them a lot. But Palisand, I feel like it's just really solid for a team, gives me another reliable rocker. And not only that, but it also actually gives us a spin blocker as well, which our team is lacking. This is, again, forces some more defog coverage to, again, then bait people into defogging while I have a Bisharp on my team. So that'll just be really solid in pressuring hazard stacking as well versus my opponents, and then just cleaning up late game with Veil sweeping. So yeah, I really like Palisand. This thing is going to be named Beach Buddy because I need to pick a name before our game actually started. Next up, we have ourselves the most broken mon. I don't know how this thing was 4 points, but it is the most broken mon allowed, and that is because of who endorses this mon. You are asking yourselves, by this point, who am I talking about? You should be asking yourselves, how is what I'm talking about doing? You should be asking yourselves, not who is Pedonison, but how is Pedonison doing? AKA our Ursaring. This thing is broken. This thing with Quick Feet and Guts, teams are going to be struggling to prep for what Pedonison is running this week. Between Guts and Quick Feet, this thing is actually going to be a nightmare for a lot of teams. Even in my division alone, I can go into my Week 2 team right now versus Poise, actually. I'll give a little bit of spoilers. His team peaks at 101 speed. So you already know that a Quick Feet Ursaring is going to be putting in a ton of work versus his team because he really cannot play around it a ton. And the fact that it still has 130 physical attack, this thing is going to be a solid physical breaker as well. Especially with Quick Feet going for Facade as well, this thing really doesn't have good switch-ins at all. And when your Ghost type is a Banette, you have a lot to worry about in terms of prepping for a Quick Feet Ursaring, which doesn't care about Will-O-Wisp. It doesn't care about the fact that you're going to be immune to a Facade, because I can just go for Crunch. And again, off a 130 attack, where's your switch into Pedonison? Who is your switch into Pedonison? And how are they going to be doing after they get raped by Pedonison? So, Pedonison is going to be putting in the finest of work for my IBA season. I think it's going to be, honestly, one of the better mons on my team, not going to lie. I think Veil actually supports this thing really well. And it already has okay bulk. I think that with Veil as well, this thing is going to be actually a nightmare for teams to prep for, in my opinion, in terms of a low tier mon, because they're not going to prep for it. And when they don't prep for Pedonison, they're going to get fucked by Pedonison. he doesn't even need to hold your hand. He's just going to fuck you over. And then you're going to be seeing him next Tuesday for fucking court because he's going to have raped your team. So that's really it for Pedonison. He's going to wine and dine you and then fuck you over. So finally, we have ourselves Tentacruel, aka Richard Jones, the best mon on our team. And it's going to be really broken in my opinion. And it's going to carry the team. No, I'm just kidding. We actually have Brisbane, our Buzzwole. So, right after recording our draft analysis I mentioned earlier, we ended up making a transaction. I talked to Omega about this. He talked to me about it in call a couple nights ago, and I was like, okay, you know, I really want to claim this Mon before week 2, because I think it could potentially put in work week 2, but I think more so it's just later on in the season that it would be better, in my opinion. But having Brisbane along with our Pedonison, we have not only the coach of the Brisbane Buzzwoles, but we have the Brisbane Buzzwoles as well endorsing our draft. And when you have both of those, I think it really gives a lot of good luck to your team. Having a solid answer as well to another fighting type switch in that can really switch into mons such as Excadrill, for example, who would have potential Mold Breaker, which then stops my Vikavolt and my Uxie from being a really solid switch in, as Uxie would get worn down really well, and Vikavolt is still going to be neutral to ground hits and doesn't exactly handle Excadrill well in general in terms of coverage. So having this thing as a really solid ground switch in, as my grass type is also neutral, I think it's really valuable for my team. It's a really solid physical bulk mon as well, and has recovery as well. So again, with Veil, this thing is actually be really fat, and even with Veil as well, it's going to help with the special defense stat as well. Really okay speed tier, base 79. It's not the best, but I can make it work. Scarfing it as well could be really solid. You know, Pedonison loves Scarfer memes. So again, running a Scarfer on this thing could be really scary for a lot of opposing teams in my division. This also helps with our Psychic type matchup, as right now we depend on Vikavolt, who could potentially get worn down by a lot of other mons, and isn't exactly a bring I could bring every week. And Bisharp, again, who I can't necessarily bring every week. Buzzwole's a mon that I can actually bring to a lot of matchups, in my opinion. So this is a really reliable Psychic switch in terms of I can bring this thing to a lot of games. And I'm really looking forward to using Brisbane along with Pedonison on our Minnesota Mini-Ors draft this season. That is going to be it for our Minnesota Mini-Ors Season 4 IBA Wi-Fi Division Draft Analysis. If you guys did enjoy it, leave a like. Check out all our coaches down below, especially the ones who I mentioned before. You need to check out Odds. Holy shit, do you guys need to check out Odds. He's been slaving away, putting in work to make sure this season goes perfectly, and I really do appreciate everything he's done for us. I also appreciate all the help that Bird has given to us. He's helped us a lot in terms of how to run the Twitter better, how to set up the channel better, how to just manage things overall. I think that Bird has offered a lot this season, and I'm really proud to have him on the team. Omega, of course, helped a lot with the team, especially with our free agent pick this week. I think that the team would not have been nearly as good as it ended up being without Omega's help. So I appreciate him greatly. And of course, Leo, I appreciate his help building this season. I think that Leo has been an invaluable part to my team building for week 1, and I cannot wait to see how he helps us week 2 alongside Omega as well. Omega has also helped a little bit with team building. So I'm really looking forward to defending our title this season. I think that we have a solid chance at it. If you guys, of course, do check out the links down below myself. I haven't even plugged those enough yet. You could join our Discord server where I do a lot of talking. Ben can also ping you for Bowsette art and make you want to leave. So there is that. We also do have things such as a role to notify you when I go live, along with my link down below to my Twitch, which you guys should click on as well and follow. Because if you follow me on Twitch, you could see our IBA games live before, in case if we don't end up uploading them to YouTube. I probably will, though, I think now that I think about it, on like a Wednesday upload or something. In terms of Twitter, you can follow me down there, as I'm going to also tweet out my streams and tweet out a bunch of other things. My Twitter is just gold, to be honest. I'm really proud of my Twitter. It's a really good investment for me. And also you can check out my Weebly down below as well. I'm actually working on increasing a lot of the background options. There are a ton more options in the game in terms of my Weebly if you want to get Stitch recordings from me. I just haven't put them all up on there, but I'm working towards updating that so it has everything possible. So I'm just working on really just getting gifts to render better, and then I can make that work. Otherwise, though, I'm really looking forward to just how this IBA season is going to go. Of course, as I mentioned, check out all the links down below. Make sure you keep up with the IBA videos on the channel. And, also, of course, follow the IBA Twitter, as it's going to tweet out a lot of things such as draft teams, draft analysis videos, week 1 in on games, when people stream, transactions, etc. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this season. I think it's going to be amazing. Also, hopefully, we're going to have power rankings as well on the IBA channel. That is going to be invaluable. You should actually subscribe to the IBA channel as well. I forgot to put that in the team post, but you should follow. I should subscribe to the IBA channel. Holy shit! If we can get Ash to do power rankings, it's gonna be the funniest video alive. You guys gotta watch that if it ends up going up. It's still in the works, so we might not do it, but if we can do it, you have to check it out, guys. It is going to be so funny. I'll probably make a video linking that if it ends up going up. But yeah, I've talked on long enough, and I want to keep this under 30 minutes. My intro is going to make it just over. I will see you guys next time, though. Peace out.